Hey guys, what's up? Time for another game theory video, or kind of like a trip down memory lane. Sometimes people like when I talk over videos, and I kind of want to do a video about hyper alpha again. I've talked about it, I guess, a few times throughout the years. But hyper alpha is interesting because I want to talk about it from the perspective of sometimes people talk about how games were, blah, 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 blah. And I've often talked about how hyper alpha is a game that the community basically lied about after it came out. I beat them so bad in it, right? Do you know what I mean? Like, and you can go back and look at that one video where there's actually been at tournaments, they've tried to tell people fake results of what happened at Evo and hope that people would not actually go back and look at the tournament and see me beating them. And then I showed that video of that guy and trying to say like, oh yeah, some surfer boy, he came and he was beating everybody and he got fourth, which of course that's not what happened. I got second and you guys pulled the fire alarm on me. How fucking insecure are you? But and he was doing all these re-dizzy combos all day. And I actually, when I heard people were lying about this stuff, and even after the tournament making up stuff, I was like, dude, what game were you playing? Because we can show the video right here. The stuff you're saying I did to beat you does not even exist in the game, right? So Hyper Alpha is pretty funny because not that I think it's an amazing game, but I think it's an example of a game that if you actually look at the game, it's an example of a game that I think that is unfinished, right? Like they didn't get to finish it because you can actually tell there are different things. They were like kind of rebalancing. It looks like they were rebalancing the game to try to fit all these different kinds of, Alpha 1, Alpha 2, and Alpha 3 is obviously completely different, right? Games into one kind of cohesive thing. And it looks like they were rebalancing it and then they just kind of stopped, right? And there's this narrative, of course, that Alpha 1 characters could do this and that and blah, blah, blah. And, I don't want to indulge too much into the story, but the funny thing is a guy named Scott, who I know, excuse me, he's posted on the channel a few times. I didn't even know about the game. Scott brought over this Hyper Alpha game, I think right before Evo it was. And they're like, oh yeah, this game's going to be at Evo. And I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this game, right? And so I don't remember if I got the game right before Evo. I sure as fuck was not practiced up or anything like that, but I don't remember if I got it right exactly before Evo when I played it, or I got it right after. And then after, like, people were lying, I started, like, kind of indulging into it. Because I'm like, you know what? I can tell this game is not working how people are saying it is. They're just mad that they lost to me. And then I started sort of, like, indulging into the game. And I just want to show some different things, again, because I'm long-winded all the time. It's just such a great example of a game that has a false narrative in the community about how it works. And the community didn't really want to give it a chance because there are different things. And so we'll look at some of these videos here. And again, I was making these videos after the game came out. But if we were to look at something like here, Ken has this roll trap, right? Boom, boom. If you don't know, Shoto's duck hard punches in Alpha 1 are insane, right? Ken's roll trap, very strong, blah, 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 blah. And basically, it is extremely hard to get out of with a lot of characters. And the move has such high priority. A lot of times, if you try to even get a reversal out of it, you just can't hit him out of it because that's how high priority the move is. And yes, we called moves priority back in the day. Yes, it's hitboxes and hurt boxes. Stop getting like a boner or whatever. The same point is like, boom, you try to get out of it, basically, it's extremely hard, even if you reversal, right? You just get hit. If you try to time a little bit different, boom, you're still getting hit, blah, blah, blah. But what do? They switched that up that you can actually get out of Ken's roll trap a little bit easier. Isn't that kind of weird? And that is such a powerful thing, right? So you can tell that was a little toned down, right? Boom, there are these traps back. If you know Alpha 1, you used to be able to do these like sort of like throw, used to be these little things where Akuma and Guy could do these things where if the guy tried to roll or attack, you could always kind of hit them. And because the throw could actually grab certain characters' DPs, right? But I don't remember if I showed an example. See? Yeah, so that like if he tries to roll, he gets hit, boom, boom. That doesn't work anymore. Boom, slide, you get out of it. Because they changed where you could throw the guy now, right? I think I show it right here. Is that showing the hurricane kick hits a little bit different? Oh, so that shows 3 times. And then in Alpha, they give it an extra hit of block damage. Weird, you know what I mean? Like, why would you tone up Guy in certain instances? So Guy has these like re-dizzy combos and everything, and the original Alpha 1, blah, blah, blah. And I always say this is so funny because people tried to say that I was doing all these combos to beat them. But then if you look at Hyper Alpha, well, wait. His jab only does 1 dizzy point. Like, what is going on? His overhead kick, instead of doing 20, it only does 11. It basically does half the dizzy. Wait a second, I think I show it here. Oh, it doesn't even combo. These dizzy combos that you were accusing me of doing the whole time that work from Alpha don't actually work in Hyper Alpha. So there are just so many instances in this game. You can see that they were adding things, they were taking away things, and I go over a lot of stuff that you could do over in the original Alpha compared to Hyper Alpha. And many characters were changed, not just Alpha 1, but Alpha 2 characters were changed. I remember some of the Alpha 2 characters, say Guy. I think Guy, they made his throw, Alpha 2's Guy's throw does damage again. They made his elbow, you can elbow the super. Like, there's lots of random tweaks in the game, believe it or not. There's this narrative that in the game that Alpha 3 characters were completely raped. But if you remember, I show a lot of different things like this, right? And I showed some like silly stuff with it even as well. So if an Alpha 1 or an Alpha 2 character tries to tech roll an Alpha 3 character, they automatically can be hit by anything. Hell, they can be, you can actually, I just did Shin Shoryuken because I was like, that looks pretty fucking cool. You can legitimately, if an Alpha 1 or an Alpha 2 character tries to tech roll a combo, they just get infinited and they automatically die. And this was something funny because I remember people were making up this things like, oh, and this isn't that I think that Alpha 3 was amazing from the little bit that I played, but there's a big false narrative that, oh, Alpha 3 can't juggle Alpha 1 or Alpha 2 characters anymore. Well, the weird thing in this game is they added something that if a character, Alpha 1 or Alpha 2 character, tries to tech roll, then they get juggled by anything and they automatically can be infinited by anything. But if they don't tech roll, nothing that you do juggles them. You know what I mean? There's some weird shit in this game that you can tell it's unfinished, but characters were different. Like, I know I show some other weird shit in these videos, right? Oh, I think this was just cool because that's like a micro walk. And I'm like, yeah, look at that shit. Look at that micro walk, motherfucker. So this is a weird thing. There's a bug with this. And I wanted to show this is something too that was weird. For some reason, for Alpha 1 characters, they allow you now to gain meter with jabs. So if you see this, I froze him with a glitch in the game that I found. Thank you very much. Jab, I'm just jabbing. And you can eventually jab and build meter. Now, the lame thing about this is I didn't realize this, and I don't even know if Mike Watson knew this when it was me and him in the finals. Mike Watson picked auto mode, whatever it's called, right? Which I don't have anything against per se, but there's actually a bug that I found out that after the finals, because again, I wasn't really playing the game, right? It was right before my surgery on my hands. I could barely, my back hurts. I'm old. I could barely use my hands anymore at the time, even as a kid. So, like I told the story, APOC came up to me. He's like, dude, why are you playing on a controller now? I was like, I can barely use my hands anymore, right? But it was me and Mike Watson in the finals, and he was playing auto mode, and I don't even know if he knew this, but there's actually a glitch in auto mode when you play this game in Hyper Alpha that after the character has automatically blocked, I don't remember, I think it's like 10 times, overheads no longer can hit them. Is that crazy? That makes me think maybe had the community kept playing, it probably would have been blocked because you can no longer be hit by overheads. But then a bug happens that I showed that proximity blocking automatically makes the character stand up no matter what, which then lets a lot of throws work versus you and you can no longer escape them. But that's a whole nother story. But like I said, I indulged into the game. After the community started accusing me of cheating to beat them, I started indulging in it. And that's why I was making these videos when I was hearing about that shit. And I'm like, dude, I didn't do any of this shit. And I think you guys are lying about how this game works. And that's why I was like putting out this. I'm like, none of this shit even works. And so say Rose is another character that if you know Rose in Alpha 1, she has those slide unblockables and all that kind of shit. They took away that stuff in Hyper Alpha, right? But they did make when you jab in this mode, you're just boom, you just get stuck next to the guy and you get a ton of hit. And it almost dizzies the guy outright like you saw. So they did some weird kind of finagling of rebalancing characters. Do I show anything else in this? I think I showed the alternate guard right here. Oh, so this is a weird bug. You get stuck on the ground and you can get hit. I think I showed something else though here. So then here's another thing, like, oh, Alpha 3 didn't get anything. I'm going to be honest, I am not even sure when I was looking at this clip again. I found so many bugs. There's so many bugs that are from video games for me. I don't even remember exactly how all things work, but there's something that if you try to throw a character when they're right going in or out of block stun, an Alpha 3 character, they can no longer be juggled. And if there's like some weird shit, right? So Alpha 1 does not always juggle Alpha 3 characters like the community said. There's some weird shit like this. There's also, where's the alternating guard? I thought I showed that in this video, right? I was trying to go through old clips. Oh yeah, that's another thing too. Although this isn't exactly it, but you'll see he becomes invincible and he doesn't get hit. See, he only gets hit by 1 hit. For some reason, when you do that shit versus Alpha 3 characters, they just boom, boom, boom. You can't continuously combo them anymore. Weird shit, right? I don't know. So this is that alternating guard that they added to the game. See how he didn't get hit because you alternate the guard, but that does not work versus Alpha 3 characters for whatever reason. I mean, there's just so many weird things in the game, and I was making so many videos on the game, and I was like recording stuff on VHS because when I saw the community was lying about stuff, I'm like, man, this isn't how the game works. And so anyway, you know, I don't know all the changes in the game, but the point is that it's an unfinished game, and it is probably a broken game. But it's a very obvious game that if you spend more than 5 minutes and you look at what the community has said about it, you can tell is not true whatsoever. And my friend actually brought up something good to me. He's like, you know what, Clayton? He was like, people can talk shit that you got second at EVO before as much as they want, but Hyper Alpha actually did have a single one-on-one tournament. And, excuse me, Tekken vs. Street Fighter never had a one-on-one tournament. So what does that tell you? Does that mean Tekken vs. Street Fighter is even worse than this game? You know what I mean? But the community just wanted to hate me so bad for beating them. I mean, it was sad. They made another thing too. I always think that, man, they made up that stupid shit that, oh God, what did they say? Oh, we all hated the game before EVO anyway. And it was like, well, if you guys all hated the game, and they tried to like spin some story that they only had the game for me. I'm pretty sure a ton of the community hates me. Can you imagine trying to spin some story that at EVO, a world tournament, they only had this tournament because people like Clayton, who the community hates, likes the game, when I had only just randomly played it once or twice? God, I don't even know. It could not have been many times before EVO. You know what I mean? Because if you even watch those matches, they're not impressive. You know what I mean? But God, it's definitely a game that, again, such a false narrative that the community talks about, and it's just a game that you can tell it was not finished, right? You know, I think about the hurricane kick stuff too that I was just showing. They took away some of those unblockable automatic setups from a hurricane kick when they're blocked from Alpha 1, but the hurricane kicks can now suck you in. It's just a very bizarre game, and it would have been nice if they actually. I would like to see, you know, how sometimes they show, they have developer interviews where they have people talking about how they made the game. I would be very interested if there's ever been a developer interview about Hyper Alpha where they talk about all the changes that they were going to put in the game. You know what I mean? All the rebalancing stuff, because you can tell there's a lot of rebalancing stuff. It's just that at some point, it's like, fuck, we got to release the game. So it's a clusterfuck now, right? But anyway, I guess keeping the channel active video game wise, because there's not a lot, so we're really grasping at straws here, right? Hyper Alpha. Anyway, random, right? Watch the videos. There's quite a number of videos that I did on this game, and if you ever go back and look at the forums after people accused me of doing stuff to beat them that wasn't even in the game. If those forums still exist, I was posting changes as I was actually looking for them a little bit. But anyway, the end.